Data Dig and Goal Setting for ELT 2020. The first handout you are going to get is your evaluation of strengths and weaknesses, and it looks like this. You'll fill in your name and your grade, and you'll start with your Data Dig. And so here's how your Data Dig works. You're going to get several data sources. Of course, you have your semester grades from your report card that you received today. You also have a printout of your MAP scores, and you have one for reading and one for math. We're going to look at those in detail. If you can access Infinite Campus, then you should be able to get to SLDS, which is a data system that's got all of your state data on it. This will include your Lexile score for all of the years that you've been enrolled in the Georgia school, as well as your former EOC and milestone scores. And so you can look at patterns in those. If you're a 10th grader, or if you're a 9th grader or a junior who took the PSAT, you also have your PSAT scores. So basically, you're going to dig into your data, and you're going to, for each one of those sources, explain what your data say, what your data mean, and then decide if that's a strength or a weakness for you. Once you've gone through all of those, then you will use that information to set a couple of goals for ELT. So let's take a look at your MAP reading and your MAP math. Here we have a student's report from MAP, and this is their math report. So there's some information that you get here. At the top, it tells you when you took the date, how long you spent on the test. So this student tested for 27 minutes. And you have a possible score range between 207 and 213 with a score of 210. So the MAP program looks at rapid guessing, whether or not you're just clicking answers. Are you Christmas treeing the test? So there was about 2% for this student, and that has a really small effect size of -1 on their overall score. And so let's take a look at how to read this. So it's divided into 3 columns. You have comparisons, comparing your achievement to other students. And that is given to you in terms of a percentile. So here's how percentiles work. Think about 0 to 100. And 50 is dead average in the middle. So if your percentile is 50, then you're average. Anything below 50 is going to be below the average on the test. Anything above 50 is going to be above average on the test. So the achievement for this student is the 15th percentile, which means that for math, this is probably a weak area. At the 15th, that means that there are 85 kids out of 100 who would be performing at a higher level, and there are 35 kids between this child's 15th percentile. So we would really want to take a look at math probably being a weak area and an area we want to work on in ELT. So the next thing that we look at on the MAP score for math are the instructional areas. And it's divided into different math concepts: real and complex number systems, statistics and probability, geometry, operations, and algebraic thinking. And you get a score for each one of those. Notice that it also identifies for this student that, hey, real and complex number systems are probably an area they want to work on. Notice that it's a little bit weaker than the other 3 areas. And operations and algebraic thinking are a strength. So you've got strengths and weaknesses even within that math score. So then over here, if you've taken the map more than once, you get a growth goal. And so we don't have one at this time because y'all have only taken the map once. So basically what we would do for this student is we would come over here, back to the data dig, and this is what the data say. I am below average in math. However, I am stronger in algebra thinking. Okay, so we know that there's a strength. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, I want to go back and look at that report for just a second. If I go back and look, real and complex number systems. So that gives us an idea of what they need to work on. Real and complex number systems is probably number sense. So you talk to your ELT teacher, talk to your math teacher. If you don't understand what these things mean, then talk to your trusted adults. We'll help you with this. That's what we're here for. And then we would fill in, well, what does my data mean? I am doing okay with algebra, but I may need more practice with number systems. And then I could mark that just as being a weakness. And I could just put weakness there. If you're handwriting, you can just put a check there. All right, so the next report that we need to look at is the map for reading. It's organized the same way. The possible score range for this student was 217 to 224. They took 101 minutes on the reading, so they really took their time with this. And there was no rapid guessing, so there's no impact on their score. Again, you've got this comparison where you have norms, but you also have projections and the readability measure, which is going to give you a couple of more data points to look at. So in reading, this student has a 220, and that puts them at the 49th percentile. Remember that 50 is average, so they are right at average compared to other kids who take this test. And these are not just BCCS kids. These are kids nationwide. All right, now here's our projections. Here's what that means. We're basically an average reader. But if we were taking the ACT at this point, we're not on track. And this student, this is a sophomore tester. You're getting ready to take the ACT or the SAT in the fall. You probably want to take a look at that and go, hey, I may need to work on my reading. All right, so Lexile measures, 970 to 1120. All right, so here's the deal. Again, it's an average Lexile. You're going to get a chart from your teacher, or your teacher's going to display a chart that has the Georgia Lexile ranges for each grade level. If we're looking at that, this student, they're doing okay. They're actually reading slightly below the challenge range for their grade level. So we're an average reader, but we've got some room to work. All right, it also gives you the Flesch-Kincaid grade level. This means that this is your independent level, 5.5 to 6.2. I know that sounds kind of low if we're talking about a 10th grader, but for independent, it's kind of, again, you're right there average, because your independent level will be slightly lower than your instructional level. This just means that if we give you a text that's written at a 6th grade difficulty, you can handle that without any help from Dr. Winfrey or Dr. Taylor. All right, so if we go to instructional areas, then like the math test, it's divided into sections. Vocabulary acquisition and use is 216. Literature is 220. Informational is 222. So we've got, these are about the same, but a little bit stronger in informational text than in literature. Vocabulary is a little low. Here's the deal. You get better at vocabulary by reading. And if this student really focuses on reading and building vocabulary, these two scores are going to come up. Again, because we have not taken the map previously, we don't have a growth goal here. So I would come here, I would go to the map reading, just like I filled out the map math. I am average in reading. Okay, I'm at the 49th percentile. That's pretty average. And however, I am not on track for the ACT. My Lexile is lower than the state band. All right, so what does that mean? I am a capable reader. However, I need to work on vocabulary, and I need to become a stronger reader overall, especially literary text. Because remember, they were a couple of points lower on literary than they were on informational. We could say, really, this is both a strength and a weakness. They're really close to grade level. They could be stronger. So here, whichever you marked, depending on the rest of your data, that would be up to you. All right, so really quickly, let's take a look at your PSAT score. And again, you get a total score, an 880. It's out of a range of 240 to 1440. And this 880 puts this ninth grader in the 50th percentile. Remember that that means they scored equal to or higher than 50% of students, and then there are 50% of students who are higher than them. So this is really an average score. All right, so your evidence-based reading and writing score made a 480. They're in the 66th percentile. That's a strength. Their math score is a 400. They're in the 32nd percentile. If you're looking at your PSAT scores, there are going to be some notes here and some notes here to help you with this. So we go back over again. We go to our chart. We go to PSAT scores. And just like we did for the map test, we fill out, hey, this is what my data mean, this is what my data says. So that is how to do the data dig part of your evaluation of strengths and weaknesses. So we want to do that today, and tomorrow we want to really spend some time with what does your data say so that we can make the best ELT plan for you. And then we're going to talk about how to use that data to set goals, and then how to use your sacred time in ELT to meet those goals during this semester.